We'll get into that. This episode was directed by Michael E. Stratazemis, written by Matthew Negrete and Channing Powell. So the cold open on this thing, it was actually an 8-minute cold open. It was a pretty long one. I mean, I have a whole page note just on the cold open. Like, wait a second, this thing seemed very long, but a lot happened. It was pretty cool. So guys, what are your initial thoughts on this week's episode?
Honestly, I would say I had to watch the episode twice because the first time around I was busy doing Oscar stuff yesterday, a lot of Oscar things. So like
a lot of people.
It was hard, yeah, exactly. So it was hard to, and I'm a movie guy, so I was like, it was hard for me to keep my attention the first time around. But I do have to write about the show, which I did, and I have the review up on theunfolks.com. But watching it again, kind of making sure I got everything I needed to. I can't. It does seem like a stepping stone to where things are going from here. There's some key scenes that I really like. One of them involves Abraham, one of them involves Rick. But overall, it's a fine episode. But it does feel like one that's like, all right, we've introduced stuff, so I can't wait to see what other stuff's gonna happen from here.
Right, it's like we've established that stuff, we established the status quo, and now it's time to totally mess with that status quo, which seems to be the formula for The Walking Dead in a lot of instances. I mean, going back to the prison and Woodville and everything else. I think I'm surprised at how much of this came right out of the comic.
Yeah, it's like really comic heavy.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised by that. And also, I mean, I don't know, I have some nits to pick about, how Hilltop was able to survive and not, Alexandria not notice them all this time and things like that.
You think there's a chance that because they're devoting so much to the comic because like the last time we had kind of some big characters introduced, it was basically the governor, and it really didn't stick that much to the comics. And maybe it's like a response to, well, since we did one way the other time, maybe we can do it a little bit more, adhere to certain things just to mix things up. I
think it's partially that. I think partially they went needing to have more of an impact, and they wanted to have like a similar, seismic level of impact like you had in the comics. So maybe that's why they're going more, letter and picture with the comics.
Yeah.
Who knows?
No,
but it was a surprise to me that they went this close to the book. Is all I was saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, completely agree. And this is, if we call this or Jim, you called it this a connective tissue episode, or I call it a filler episode, I'll take this kind of filler or kind of middle of, leading us up to a plot point episode any day of the week. It seemed to be very well thought out. The great pacing on this episode. It wasn't really a lot of crazy action or even zombies. Maybe one or two zombies are in the whole show, but really it was more about introducing these new characters in a way that made sense and leading us up to something bigger. So I was generally pleased with this week's episode.
Not to hold us off from talking about the episode specifically too long, but I have I've heard the chatter among some, especially concerning like the premiere episode, which I meant to talk about during the premiere. But the idea of zombies in this world and how lately they haven't seemed as much of a threat. I mean, you look at the premiere episode, the mid-season premiere episode. Like they basically killed all the zombies just by perseverance, as opposed to kind of like before. Sometimes one zombie or one walker could endanger everybody, but now it's like they could kill a whole bunch of them and not have to worry about it. What I like about that, not necessarily like the logic of it, but I think we have Negan, the impending Negan eventually going to come along with all these other communities and various people. I think it speaks to the idea that we've had 6 seasons of the show at this point, so we've established that zombies are bad, and now I do like, much like the comic does, that the show's exploring. Well, we know what this world is that happens to have zombies. Now let's see what the kind of impact people has been, and that's taken place before with things like Terminus and whatnot in terms of showing the horrors of humanity, subtracting the zombies out of the equation. But I do think that seems to be becoming more and more the emphasis, where you can have our main characters kill a bunch of zombies, just kind of by flick of the wrist, but then the real threat is watching these people and what can come of their involvement with them. Whether it's good or bad.
The show kind of has to do that ultimately. I mean, how much can you show of just humans versus walkers and zombies? I mean, this is what's going to keep the show going for several more years. Is these great little communities that exist and the interactions between them, the super villains that are to come. So the villains we've seen in the past. So I think human interaction is really the key to the show's longevity.
Obviously, until we just take away both this show and Fear the Walking Dead and just stick with Flight 462. I mean, until that takes off.
The refueling tanker is in the air, and they're setting up for a whole other season. That's what I heard.
Yeah. By the way, is this time to the Flight 462 podcast?
No, but Aaron,
no, he just did it. He just did it.
I'll cue you in, Aaron. Stand by.
Okay, I'll stand by.
Okay, the flight's on standby. Yeah.
You can do it again later.
So let's jump right into it, guys. As we see, this is a very long cold open. It was about 8 or 9 minutes long, and a lot happened. We see Abraham and Sasha kind of strolling back into Alexandria, having a very casual conversation. Abraham's talking about the old Cannibal the Keys story from his army days, and a little flirtation back and forth between the two of them. We definitely see a little bit of residual of that from the episode, a few episodes back, where Abraham made his feeling clear about Sasha, and he's definitely still digging her. You can feel those vibes and a lot of flirtation between them. But Sasha tells Abraham she won't see him tomorrow because she switched assignments. And kind of an awkward moment between them, and Sasha kind of walks away and gives this little peace sign to Abraham, and I guess she's trying to send him a message. What do you guys think about that?
I forgot that there was romantic tension between them that happened at the end of last.
Oh, really?
Okay. Honestly, it did not. It was something like I remember enjoying it at the time in that episode, but I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing that happened, and then it never really got. Obviously, it's been a few months, and we've been dealing with some other drama, such as giant zombie hordes and whatnot. So I forgot about the minor romance between two characters.
But I thought there was something between him and Rosita.
Well, we cut to that, and that's the next scene. I mean, obviously, Abraham's been an item with Rosita. Pretty much, we noticed that from 2 seasons ago when they were still on the way to Terminus. They had a scene where Eugene was speaking over the bookshelves, and they were going at it, and it was kind of fun. But we cut to Abraham in bed with Rosita. However, Abraham's thinking about Sasha. I mean, he's definitely having visions of her. They keep cutting back to that little moment they had where she's walking away, giving him a little peace sign, and we see Rosita made a necklace for Abraham from pieces of the tail light, presented to him. He says she is damn near perfection, and that kind of ends their scene. But you can see he's still thinking about Sasha, so he's kind of torn. We cut to Glenn and Maggie planting tomatoes at night for some reason. However, some panic ensues. Denise realizes that the prisoner Jesus is missing, and then we go to Rick's house, and Jesus is basically sitting on the staircase. Carl pulls a gun, but somehow Daryl, Abraham, Glenn, and Maggie all end up inside Rick's house because they know that's where he is. With surprised looks on their faces when they see Michonne and Rick at the top of the stairs, and they know what they just did.
I love that there's no let's hide, there's no sitcom-y friend situation. We can hide this from everybody. There's just everybody already knows it. And almost to the point of over the top of let's have every single main cast member walk in to see them doing this.
Right. It's almost like you're saying what here too,
Yeah. What? What? Together.
What?
You don't do that?
You got a problem?
What about Daryl? You just start pointing the finger. What about Daryl? What do we know about Beth? Just assigning blame for no reason. But it was. And we'll get later on to Carl. We'll talk about that. But I do like that it just kind of puts things out in the open without having to kind of drag something out for no real. Like the last thing The Walking Dead needs is romantic tension based off secrecy. So I'm not
right. And I did like the way that Jesus referred to Michonne as Carl's mom.
Yes,
your mom dead.
Well, he couldn't see him, so I guess he didn't know if he was a product of the two of them. But so in the morning, the gang sits Jesus down for a talk at the kitchen table. It sounds kind of funny. Jesus apparently he's a master scout. He kind of checked out the community while he was in between the prison and Rick's house. Noted that they have a lot of arms in the armory and a lot of ammunition, but their food stores are low. He says he's from a community that seeks to trade with others, and he quote, "Your world's about to get a whole lot bigger." And that's the end of the cold open. 9 minutes later.
So I honestly haven't had a chance to listen to last week's episode, which I was on, unfortunately. But I was curious. What did you guys think of the Jesus portrayal last week when he was introduced?
Generally good. I mean, I don't think anyone had a problem with him.
I think we're fine with it overall.
Yeah, and you said he knows Israeli martial arts, right, Jim? That's his secret his secret weapon, right? The Krav Maga. What is it? Krav Maga?
Krav Maga. Yeah. I'm pretty much there with you guys. I don't dislike what actor Tom Payne's doing with the performance. It's, you read about the character for so long. It is one where I had kind of a certain look and vision in my eyes. Even though I have a comic where I can obviously see what they're going for. But even in terms of like how I figured he'd sound and how he presents himself, it felt a little off compared to what the show's giving me. But I think it is a charismatic performance for the most part. I think I mainly look forward to seeing real hair on his face as opposed to what's obviously a fake beard so far. But we'll get there. Like
I mean, it's not as big a deviation as like from comic book governor to TV governor.
For sure.
But I do understand what you mean.
It feels like
different deviations there.
It feels a bit like a kid playing dress up right now. So I'm hoping to see kind of what's the, because I don't watch Talking Dead, but I saw like a bit of it. And I saw that he actually did grow out hair, and I learned that was like he grew that out later on. So I guess the upcoming episodes will actually be his real hair, which I'm a bit more happy to embrace when it happens.
Yeah, he noted that on Talking Dead. He said that they cast him within a week. Like they selected him, and he was on set within a week, and he didn't have time to grow out the beard that quickly. So they had to use a fake one to begin with, but now he's growing into his real beard. That was his answer. So enough about beards. They load up the RV. They're going on a trip to Jesus' community, and Rick has a little chat with Carl about Michonne, and Carl definitely says, "Hey, it's cool, Dad. I understand." As the RV's rolling, Abe leans over to Glenn and has the famous line here: "When he was pouring the Bisquick, was he trying to make pancakes?" And that was referring to, I suppose, making a baby with Maggie, his wife.
With baby making material, I get it.
Baby batter, as it's called.
Yeah.
It sure is.
We're really testing the censor so far this week.
They use that word a hell of a lot in this too, right? Mm-hmm. And then right after that scene, Rick and Michonne do a little hand holding in the front seats. It was so cute. They're just kind of holding hands, driving the RV together. It was a nice little moment.
Let's back up a bit to the metaphors that Abraham's using. I will say it did take me I think as long as it took Glenn to kind of figure out what exactly he was trying to say. Mainly because I keep kind of forgetting that Maggie's pregnant. They don't seem to really emphasize that enough, even though we just literally had a scene involving them talking about being pregnant. But then it gets to this conversation where Abraham, in between his varying metaphors, he's getting very specific about what he wants to say. And I found it very endearing. This episode in general, it really is Abraham's episode. I mean, we have all the other characters, but this is an Abraham-centric episode for the most part. And I do like the kind of stages it takes where first you get like what his kind of mind frame is at as far as between Sasha and Rosita. Redhead's really getting lucky right now. Then you get to this scene. We'll get to some other scenes later that we'll get to. But I do like that in addition to kind of giving us Abraham at this kind of like, I need to know what like my life's worth right now, we're getting some very colorful plays of dialogue of how he kind of presents himself to make sure we know it's the Abraham we all love. Mother Dick Abraham.
Well, and also later, like Maggie really steps up as a negotiator in Hilltop because of the pregnancy angle. I mean, they find out that they have like neonatal vitamins and the obstetrician and all that there, so she really like becomes a negotiator. I mean, thank God, Rick doesn't.
Yeah, so
we'll get to that. Rick didn't say that conversation.
Good thoughts about that.
I think by making this little mention of it at the beginning to kind of remind the viewer, after all the stuff they've been through in the past few episodes, hey, Maggie's pregnant. They mentioned it like you said with the conversation with Glenn, and then with this baking metaphor.
Mm-hmm. I liked it. I thought it was very endearing to Abraham, and this is definitely an Abraham-centric episode. And I thought it fit perfectly with what you can see his state of mind, and it develops later. We'll talk about that. The RV continues. They stopped for a flipped over vehicle, and Jesus says that's his crew, and there's got to be a few survivors. They track them down to an office building. Rick leaves Jesus outside, still doesn't trust him, and basically says to Maggie, "Look, if I hear me whistle, shoot this guy." That's it. We still think this is a trap. We think we're being set up here, but either way, they go in the office building. They find 4 people from Jesus' group. Abe almost kills a person named Freddie by mistake towards the end there, but they end up recovering a doctor, among other things, named Harlan, and he happens to be an obstetrician, which we find out later in the RV when Glenn and Maggie are talking to him in the back.
It's the kind of scene where it's you mentioned filler episode. This almost feels like, well, we need a scene to feature some walkers to make sure people know they're watching the right show. Like it feels like such like an after the fact. Yeah, it feels like an after the fact. Like we need to add some zombie action in this episode. It's pretty light on it. So it's and we can introduce a couple characters. So we'll do that here. But I mean, it's fine. This is where my zombie kill of the week came, because Daryl gets he like shoves a few walkers around and knifes one of them in like the brain, and it's that's always good. So
I mean, what's not to like there? I can see that.
It's always good stuff.
So as they're in the RV heading back, Freddie is talking about how he thought he was going to die at Abe's hands. He thought that was it for him, and he had a vision of his wife, who I think was dead or missing or what have you. And he said that's the last thing I was going to see was my wife, and it came to me. And Abraham hears that. The RV finally reaches the hilltop. They have guards with spears at the gates. Rick is not impressed. Jesus allows the group to keep their weapons and enter to meet with the hilltop leader, whose name is Greg. You can see it.
The guards on the tower with their spears. That was boy. I just wanted them to attack us so Rick could say, just chill. I'm like, what?
What? The deal's done. I got weapons. You don't. We can see that the walls are made nice and high. I mean, they're made from telephone company style poles. I mean, they're definitely a pretty strong structural wall, and they have a building in the middle. And Jesus explains it's called the Barrington House. He says it's an old historic house that used to be owned by the state. It's a perfect vantage point to see approaching enemies or approaching people from miles. It's a pretty good place to be. Abe walks in and says, "Good gracious Ignatius!" And they walk into the Barrington House. He's just got a great line in this episode.
So this is actor Xander Berkeley. I'm a fan of this actor. You listeners may know him from various film and TV roles. He has a memorable role in 24 and the initially first couple seasons of 24. He's took a way back. He's in Terminator 2 as John Connor's stepfather who gets knifed in the face by the T-1000.
The milk, right?
But yeah, you can look up Xander Berkeley. He's appeared in a lot of various roles. And he generally plays a jerky kind of character, which for me made it perfect casting to see him randomly show up as Gregory, a character I know very well from the comics as well.
Absolutely.
He walks out and says, of the study, and says, "I'm the boss," essentially. He insists the group clean up before they speak. Rick tries to talk to him, but Rick is perturbed and says, "Look, Maggie, you better deal with this guy. I can't talk to him. When you get cleaned up, you talk to him." They go upstairs. Abe and Daryl still downstairs kind of keeping watch, and Abe asks Daryl, "How long do you think Rick and Michonne have been ugging Bumpleys?"
That's me, my new cover band, the Ugging Bumpleys.
The Ugging Bumpleys. Maggie and Greg have a meeting. He calls her Natalie.
Yeah.
He's basically heavy-handed with her. Tells Maggie she has basically nothing to offer. However, he'll allow her to offer to have her people come and work for food, essentially work in the community and trade their services for food. However, at that point, the conversation just dissolves and ends. Negotiations are over. And that brings us right to our Fear the Walking Dead Flight 462. Aaron, here's the update. Go right ahead.
Oh yeah.
This week.
This week there was a passenger who said "I love you" to her husband outside the bathroom.
And that was your Flight 462 update, folks.
Okay, got it there.
Wow, I feel totally updated now. Thank you.
So going back real quick, anything to add about the scene that just happened in the negotiation between Maggie and Greg? Or
it's like as a comic reader, it's a good like this. This is very familiar. I'll just say that without going to delve too much into it. It's very familiar to see the stuff that's happening, and given that we've had Lauren Cohen on this series since season 2 now, it's neat to know that she could be coming up in her own way as a leader persona, which may not be something that many people have expected in the past, given just kind of where her character stood in the past versus where she is now. I mean, you've gotten a lot of a set for this with what's that? Deanna, right?
Who's Deanna?
Deanna. a lot of setup with Deanna, that putting her in a position of power and authority. I mean, it's neat that the season has kind of slowly planted the seeds for giving us more to expect from Maggie, and so now it's kind of, it seems like it's about the payoff figure.
Yeah, I mean, her stepping up as a negotiator here with the slimy guy was great. And like I said, when they found out she had an obstetrician or whatever, and she was like more personally invested, and that gave her a good story reason to really jump in there and kind of seal that breach. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I really appreciate that. Like I said, it's cool when they give Lord Cohen something to do other than pine for Glenn,
or go looking for Glenn. He's
or go looking for Glenn and
mission.
killing zombies along the way. You know, I'm glad they want to do some more things. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like this is all related to Deanna. If we go back, I mean, she was selected for this role of ambassador or peacemaker or diplomat leader, politician, if you will, by Deanna. I mean, she didn't have these responsibilities until Deanna gave it to her and kind of took her under her wing. So a lot of Deanna's legacy lives strong. Let's just leave it at that.
She saw Maggie's potential and it's clearly paid off. Right?
Yeah, and obviously she affected Michonne, as we found out last episode too, in a big way, and let her express her feelings towards Rick, and so it's pretty cool. I like how it's all weaving together. Jesus tries to be the voice of reason as we come back, and the group is together talking to Jesus and saying, "Look, let me talk to Gregory. Give me a few days to work out a deal." Rick's like, "Look, we came up here. We're not leaving without any food." A small group then heads into the town by a man called Ethan. He's headed there, returns to the hilltop. They explain to the two that the team two of their team is dead, and Negan is holding Ethan's brother, Craig, as hostage until they can pay up. Negan told Ethan to deliver a message to Gregory, and that meant stabbing him in the gut.
Yeah.
Which Ethan then did. Rick takes down Ethan, ultimately winning a wrestling match and stabbing him in the neck and making a nice bloody mess. Rick gets up covered in blood, and the townsfolk looking at him like he's crazy, and he simply says, "What?"
I'm really sad that the man bun survived the zombie apocalypse.
Man bun.
It's like one of those fashion things that really would have thought it died along with the rest of civilization, but I guess not.
That was a good little brawl, and yeah, a lot of that. You had both like Rick was started with one guy. You had Abraham getting strangled until Daryl came out with a save because he's Daryl. That's right, Daryl. And even like
Michonne too.
Yeah,
Right?
Michonne got handled a couple people, and then when one of the women came up in Rick's face, she just like body slammed her down on the ground.
Oh yeah,
which was amazing.
Stay away from my man.
Exactly.
And Abe's on the ground wrestling with that hilltopper in the scuffle, and he hears Sasha's voice in his head, so he's about to get choked out apparently, and that's whose voice he hears in his head is Sasha. So apparently he knows or something. He knows who his true love is or what have you. And when he gets up, the necklace that Rosita made for him is torn and then left on the ground behind.
I'm not sure like how I'm supposed to feel about like his relationship exactly. Like I'm supposed to like be like feeling bad for Rosita in this scenario, or like happy that Abraham is finding some sort of like inner peace or whatever you want to call it. Like, but at the same time, I do just like seeing Abraham kind of smile. Like he gets up, and he's like, I see clearly. Like he like kind of has some kind of epiphany. It's another one. He's kind of doing multiple epiphanies right now. Not all men can do that, but he's working that out. It seems.
Yeah. I mean, and she really got to him in that episode. I think that's part of it too. Sasha really, got to Abraham in his head, and, set him kind of straight, and
which makes it
that's
hard.
why he's so attracted to her.
Yeah. So like, but am I supposed to like, should I be like caring like when something happens, as far as Abraham has to break up with somebody or like show something that kind of upsets the balance that he has? I don't know.
I mean, Rosita hasn't even been fleshed out. Well, she has flesh, but she hasn't fleshed out that much as a character. I mean, she, we know her, but we kind of don't know her. She's just been along with Abe's group and the Eugene, crusade that they were on for so long. And I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe when that episode hits and Abraham breaks the news to her, we may get some more depth out of her character. Hopefully.
So is it before? It's before he kills the man bun guy that Gregory breaks down the whole Negan deal, right? About Negan beating up the 16-year-old kid and telling them that they had to give him half of everything.
That happens next. That happens next. Yeah, because no, it's good. We're gonna segue right into it. Back in the office, Rick's group, they want information about Negan. Now, Greg is hurt. He's in the room getting healed, but Jesus explains that Negan is the head of a group called the Saviors, and apparently the Saviors are made of they made a lot of threats, and they ended up extorting the Hilltop group for half of all their supplies and food on a regular basis. And Negan killed a Hilltop resident as an example for no reason to prove how serious he was when they first encountered them.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah,
just saying.
It was 16-year-old or something like that. His name's Cody or whatever it was, and
this is where Jesus says, "We need to understand right off the bat."
Right, he even said that. He wanted us to understand. Yeah, off the bat. Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil it.
So Daryl at that point just chimes in and says, "Look, we'll take out this crew. We'll take out Negan. But we want a cow and a lot of food and livestock just for us, and then we'll take care of your problem." And then at that point, Rick realizes that this is the trade that they can offer. They don't have much to offer this group except their services as fighters. And Maggie, they're on the porch at this point. Maggie says it's going to cost them, and I guess a little foreshadowing there.
We got the details on the Saviors and more about Negan, who keeps being pumped up to supposedly leave some kind of impression once we finally actually meet the character. But that's I do want to back up. We kind of glossed over not just the whole fighting stuff, but Rick's response to the fight, because he does say, as you said, what? And then it's like guy with a spear comes up, like he's gonna make some kind of difference to a guy with a gun in his hand, just murder somebody with a giant knife. He comes up to him.
You're about to spear to a gunfight, are you?
And he walks up there and he says, like, you gotta give up your weapon. He's like, how about no? Which is I think like word for word out of the comic, by the way. I think when I read this issue in the comic, I think I have an Instagram post of the image of Rick telling this guy to screw off. Like, so it's like Rick is, as much as I enjoy kind of Darth Rick, I do like how his change in Alexandria has turned around as far as like he's willing to accept Alexandria as a commendable group to want to train to be better fighters. But I do like it's still no nonsense when it comes to anybody else that tries to mess with him or his own. And so seeing him in action here, where he's just telling guys to just get away from me. I'm gonna do what I need to do here to protect me and my people. Even his line is like, a guy came at me and he stabbed Gregory, so of course I shot him. Like, just killed him or knifed him, whatever. It's good Rick stuff as far as the kind of no nonsense Rick dictatorship that I like to see every now and then.
So if this was Darth Rick, say 8 or 9 episodes ago, the spear guy would have been dead, right?
Spear guy would be dead. He would have like told Daryl and Michonne to flank the place. So like after he killed that guy, they like take over the whole town.
We're taking this hilltop.
And then burn half of it down to prove a point. Like that's the whole Rick.
Yeah. The ghost of Tyrese tells him we don't have to kill everyone.
And then Carol with rocket launchers hiding in a tree somewhere, and we'll take out the rest of the town.
Again, if this was a Simpsons episode, it'd be swirling icons of T-Dog, Carol, and like Herschel telling Rick what to do. You just gotta be a father, son. Watch out, Rick. Do the good thing. Like just back and forth.
Milk helps us play.
Yeah, so Jesus talking about Saviors. That's where we're...
No, yeah, actually, it's a good conversation. And even Rick admits in that conversation that, we know these guys. Daryl encountered about 5 of them and basically left them in puddles and pieces on the side of the road. So they're really not afraid of Negan's group at this point. They know bits and pieces about them, but they're not really too concerned about them.
Daryl seems a little overconfident for not knowing their capabilities. Or is it the whole group that seems that way to you? I thought Daryl especially.
Daryl started it. I mean, he's like, he goes, these guys are phonies. He goes, how many people have you seen? They go, well, we've heard 20 or more in a group. Well, come on. He goes, we can do that. These guys aren't anything but they're phony baloney, just extorting these people on the hill. So he's not afraid of them, it seems like.
Right.
Maggie then renegotiates a deal with Gregory in his bed as he's kind of recuperating, and they strike a deal. And Maggie is very cool, calm, and she goes, look, here's the deal. All right, we'll take care of your problem, but we want half of everything. We want half of everything you got, all the, half the food, all that stuff, and also an extra thing, which we find out is 1 or 2 of the people to come back with them to Alexandria.
it's a bold deal, and some might even say cocksure of them to propose that deal. But I mean, if it gets the job done, it's like, I like that they believe in themselves enough. I'm glad that Daryl's become the group cheerleader apparently after years of.
Well, I mean, they don't have anything more to lose than what they're already about to lose. You know, what I mean, they're already about to lose half of everything, but over a long period of time, as opposed to this deal, which is a one-time thing. So.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like I was thinking, what if they could theoretically take this hilltop pretty easily, the Rick's group. I mean, they don't have to even let these guys survive. They can take all their food and stuff, take them all back to Alexandria. I mean, there's a lot of things they could have done. They were much better armed than the indigenous people of the hilltop.
I think Rick's smart enough to realize like he is not the only person in the world that wants to achieve some kind of new civilization or some kind of peace as far as how humans will get on in this world where the dead have taken over. So it seems like an advantageous act to like have his own community as well as establish what seemingly is kind of his endgame of having a series of communities established to live in harmony with each other.
Plus, I mean, in the back of his mind, he probably felt he had to deal with the Negan problem sooner or later, since they're already at the outskirts of the Alexandrian area. So
yeah,
he might as well, if he's going to do it, he might as well get something out of it other than just taking it out.
I like it. I mean, I like that the world does feel larger, as Jesus promised. I mean, we feel now that there's actually 3 communities that we know of. There's plenty more out there, but I mean, these are nicely fortified, not just chain link fences like they had at the prison. I mean, they're evolving. We're getting these bigger walls and more community type of situations, and it's pretty neat to see how the world is getting bigger.
It's one of
how Rick's group it's going to fit into it.
It's one of the bigger takeaways of the episode in general, where you get to you're taking away the humor from last week and the kind of action mayhem going on the week before, but you're replacing it with here's a whole new world for these characters to exist in and like see where the show goes from there. It has like a new pivot point to go off of as far as how do we keep The Walking Dead going. Well, we introduce this.
It's great. I mean, I like the direction it's going in. I think it's really great. It gives the show more scope, and it makes it feel larger. It's cool. I just like what they're doing. Towards the end of the episode, we see Maggie getting ultrasound of her fetus by the doctor, and we see them kind of riding back in the RV and sharing the picture that they got of Maggie's unborn child from the ultrasound machine. And that's the end of the episode.
And again, a lead off of with Abraham as far as kind of if you have a central character, obviously other characters aren't important in this episode, but you give Abraham a chance to, you've already seen him kind of develop whatever kind of new respect for life he has and where that goes from here as far as his love life we'll see, but seeing him look at that picture, the ultrasound, it's a nice little moment in a show that's often full of bleak moments.
I was going to say it's about as hopeful as this show gets.
Yeah,
and usually when it gets a nice hopeful moment like this is right when the proverbial rug is pulled out from under everything again. So.
We're surrounded by multiple hopeful moments though. I mean, we've got really Rick and Michonne in a new budding romance. We've got Abraham in a love triangle almost. We've got obviously the Glenn and Maggie, of course being a father and the mother, you want to keep the family together. There's a lot of these little things that if we would have seen this a couple seasons ago, again, okay, he's a goner, she's a goner, you can just predict it, but they're really setting us up where anybody can go at any minute and you really don't know who it is. It's really cool.
For sure. I don't even know if I need to mention this, but I do like the fact also that there's bigger things going on, and the show has not really had any need to be like, hey, we have interracial relationships going on. They just let's just accept things as they are. I like that.
Yeah, and it felt very organic. We talked about this a little bit last week. It felt very organic. I mean, it felt very natural relationship between Rick and Michonne, and it actually feels very natural between Sasha and Abraham. I like that just a couple of scenes in a few episodes, a couple of little seeds can make a relationship feel real. And that's pretty good writing, I guess. I mean, that's not easy to do. It doesn't seem forced. Like the Abraham and Rosita just seems like, okay, they're just together. They just sleep together. You don't see any relationship beyond that. They were just been doing it for so long.
Yeah, for a show like this, which I've often commented on how non-subtle and hit you on the head it is with its writing, I have been a fan of how it's handling these relationships. And again, it's not as if I need the show to focus on relationship drama and whatnot, but I do like seeing characters that organically get together and it doesn't feel wrong in any way because you've at least established kind of the basics of who these people are supposed to be. So it's playing well so far.
Our sponsor this week, as every week, other than this week, is DCBService.com. And if you, say, for instance, are an aficionado of The Walking Dead, I imagine you would be because you watch the show and you listen to this podcast. Say you want to get into the comics. They have them. They have them in a lot of different forms. You can get the single reprinted comics. You can get the trade paperbacks, which are 6 issues in one volume. You can get the hardcovers, which are 24 issues in one, or 12 issues in one volume, excuse me. Or you can even go the way I go with the paper versions, get the compendium, which is 48 issues in one giant phone book size volume. And if you could order any or all these permutations of DCB Service at a huge discount, 30, 40, 50, sometimes 60% off, depending on what they have on their specials and sales, you can often save a lot more than you would be able to even on Amazon or other book mongering sites as you were. And the service at DCB Service is exceptional. Their customer service is awesome. If there's any sort of problem, if anything needs to be changed, messed around, or dealt with, they're happy to do it. Not only comic books there, they also have action figures, they have statues, they have, as I mentioned, trade paperbacks, they have t-shirts. Every month there's a catalog that comes out called Previews, and anything in that Previews catalog, which itself is the size of a phone book of a small city, you can get a DCB Service at a fraction of the price that they're offering in that catalog. Some cool things they have going on right now. Aliens Mini-Mates. If you're a fan of the Alien franchise, Series 3 assortment just came out with Corporal Hicks and Ripley in her spacesuit from the first Alien movie. A lot of fun stuff there. They have all kinds of Star Wars statues on sale right now. If you enjoy the Star Wars, most of those are 30 and 40% off. This Elite Collection Darth Vader resin statue really needs to be seen to be believed. You save 30% off that. Normally $124.99, only $99.99 with the DCB Service. Again, not only comic books, they have action figures. I get my McFarlane Walking Dead blind bag action figures from DCB Service. I order like 4 or 5 blind bags at a time, and they're really fun because at least each one has a zombie in it and a member of the cast.
That's cool. You don't know what you're getting. It's like a secret bag.
You always need zombies to find. So that's cool that each one comes with a zombie, and then you don't know what you're getting until you open it. Or that really sweet Daryl diorama that came out just a couple of months ago from McFarlane. I don't know if you guys saw that. They've been really coming out with some cool Walking Dead action figures. Walking Dead board game. I know something I mentioned last month. They had a DCB Service. It's also available this month. The Walking Dead adult coloring book. Taking art from the first 20 issues of the comic and turning it into an adult coloring book. I guess you only need like red and blue and gray, maybe, or green. You only need like maybe 3 or 4 crayons, but adult coloring seems to be a hot thing. So do it the Walking Dead way. A lot of fun. So DCB Service, we really thank them for their sponsorship. Again, if you're looking for pop culture stuff, that is the place to go if you want great service and great prices. DCBService.com or their sister site, InsideTrades.com, if you're looking for trade paperbacks and graphic novels.
I don't know if you guys heard this, but they're making an exclusive Abraham figurine that has holding a chain and a box of Bisquick. So I mean, I look forward to the pre-order on that one for sure.
I'm looking for the Carol variant with the casserole dish.
Yes, yeah.
So if you guys are at cons and you see that one, I definitely am looking for the Carol with casserole
and the kitchen timer.
Yeah. Action casserole.
That's perfect. Well, thanks, Jim. How about we get to our Buster ratings, guys? Aaron, we'll start with you.
I as much as I like the kind of the setup going on and some of the key scenes in this episode, I'm still like a 3.5. I think it's a fine episode. It is a filler episode or kind of a groundwork laying episode, as you want to call it. But I think the lack of kind of the goofy humor from previous week or even kind of more zombie action, which is not something I tend to want, but in the midst of like I only get so much out of the writing and I like the character focus stuff. This is kind of more just laying things aside. It's a solid episode, not one where I was like enthusiastically excited about the whole time through, but it has good moments. So 3.5 Busters.
Jim, how about you?
I'll give this a 4, and the reason I do is because this was so close to the comic, it made me go get my copy of the comic to like see if I was remembering it correctly. You know what I mean? And it was cool to see them kind of pull the rudder back a little bit toward the comic story. I know Gable and Nicotero said they're using it as a blueprint, but there's gonna be little side passages along the way or whatever. I was kind of surprised by how close this is here to the original stuff, and I really like that aspect of it. I know I understand it's more of like I said connective tissue or moving the plot along to the inevitable confrontation with Negan or whatever, but I thought it was done well. There were like nice action beats in it. They gave Lauren Cohen more to do, and an Abraham-centric episode is always welcome in my book. So I was all over it like a duck on a June bug. 4 out of 5.
I'm going to give it a 4.25. I'm really liking, if this is connective tissue, if this is a filler episode or whatever you want to call this, I'll take this all day. I mean, this was a really good episode. They had most of the cast involved. Daryl, Rick, Abraham, they all had their piece of the action. Glenn. I mean, it was just a really well-paced, and we saw a lot, even though we got introduced to a lot of characters as well. I mean, thinking back to how they clunkily introduced Woodbury and all those characters, and it took a whole season to figure it out. I mean, this is just very slick storytelling. They've got this dialed in, and I'm liking this a lot. And this build-up to Negan, this build-up to this other group is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to eventually probably explode by the end of the season. So I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing here. It's just everything's just dialed in right now. So 4.25, and we'll leave it at that. But who cares what we think? We have an amazing Facebook group. It's the Walking Dead TV podcast. Please join our group. We've got now 721 members, 5 new members from last week. So welcome aboard new ones. And they are very active, and they're great at introducing their Buster ratings each episode. So Jim, could you go through and see what our listeners thought of this week's episode, Not to Untie?
Sure. We're going to start off with Brent Jones. Give it a solid 4. Rick's always bloody first impressions out of 5. I hate that they so easily took on the fight with Negan. At this point, it's not their fight with their history. I understand their confidence, but it's not your fight. Why risk lives when there was already on offer on the table for some food? I love the dynamics of our group. Everyone has a strength. The RV getting stuck and suddenly unstuck and all clean drove me nuts. I don't know. I think that maybe Daryl and Rick think that Negan is something they have to deal with down the road anyway.
And they kind of say that in the preview of next week's episode. They did address that right on the head. It's right there. They say, look, it's going to happen, and we got to deal with them. They're coming for us, kind of thing.
Tracy W. responded, maybe after they kicked the crap out of those people and knifed that guy in the throat until he was dead, all the Hilltop people pushed their van out and watched it for them. Also, I think they'd rather fight than work. Among the common folk, I don't think they're socialized. They're kind of feral. Rick most of them knows that. That's why he sent Maggie to talk to Senor Douchebag. Everard Santa Marina, 4.5. Corn Bisquick to make pancakes out of 5. Feels like good progression, although felt a bit disjointed. The survivors of the car wrecks sought shelter in a zombie-ridden dark building. Or, yeah, why not see higher ground like a rooftop? Gregory seemed all bluster when he really had no leverage given their tie to the saviors. That's true. It would have been more believable if you tried to get them to help in that regard before demonstrating they're under his heel. But still, it feels like a very different, but it's still an intriguing show. The acting by the Hilltop folks was not exactly stellar. Feels like they've reached the shallow end of the acting pool. Ooh, Simon Xander Berkeley, dude. Not cool. Not cool, man. Cheryl Morse Goodman, 4.0. Really bad Jesus hair out of 5. For some reason, this episode seems short. Gregory's a big douche. It seemed a little heavy-handed in that regard, but I'm intrigued. Mike Jones, Fallout 4 settlements out of 5. I was thinking that too. I love Hilltop. Looks like one of my Fallout settlements. Wasn't totally into Maggie as a negotiator, and Gregory was poorly acted. Oh man, who knew the Dos Equis guy would run a settlement? The
Dos Equis guy.
Group Manor asks Everard at Center Arena. Max Sofer, 4 out of 5. Old Winnebagos. This episode was just okay with me, but I still gave it a high mark because it felt really faithful to the comic. Hilltop looks great, and I hate Gregory just as much as I hoped I would. Side note, not sure why I just ended up after all this time. Can't they find a better RV?
I know, right? They're in the 1980s collection, 70s RVs. They can find something newer, right?
Well, at least they aren't all crammed into a Hyundai like they would in the first few seasons.
That's true. You're right.
Roger Austin, 4 awesome Abraham analogies out of 5. Rick, Jesus, and Maggie were all good, but Abe was a star this week. Starring to Miss Carol, but I'm sure she'll have more to do pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
I agree. DeRay Irvin, 4 Ugg and Bumpleys out of 5. Would have been a solid 5, but there was no Carol. This was a great episode, and I love The Walking Dead world is getting bigger, but I fear what is to come. And well, you should. Tanya Royce, 3.75. Jesus, the census guy, out of 5. And I like that we met a new community, but thought the episode was a bit choppy. The abisms were off the chart. Jesus telling Carl he's waiting for his parents to get dressed. Carl's reaction, everyone running up the stairs was a laugh out loud moment. But taking on another community's big bad is problematic at best and cocky at worst. Maggie said best is going to cost us something. David B. the third, 3.5 right hands of Jesus out of 5. I like this episode, but I expected the comedy last week to bring a load of action this week. I love the signature blood to Rick's face, next slice action, and tying up the explosive events of Negan's team. Planning is generally boring, whether IT, finance, or attacking rival humans. I suppose so. Karen Shee, 4 Bisquick pancakes out of 5. Solid episode. Lots of good build up. Missing Carol, but definitely great to see most of the core getting together again. I love the continued awkward dynamic between Denise and Daryl.
And we didn't cover that. There was just a couple little scene in the beginning there where he was fixing the RV and she offered him his oat pie or something like that. And
Daryl's
yeah, it was cute.
Daryl's kind of a jerk about it, but it was fine. It was a fun scene.
Yeah.
Richard Chopper Cherry Charrington, I'll give you this. I'll trade you 4 cans of Orange Crush for a bullet out of 5. So here comes Negan's storyline. Looking forward to how this plays out. I mean, could you ever see Rick and Co. mucking out livestock for food? Nah, they'd rather slay the bad guys. Rob Cook, 4, dubious Bisquick analogies out of 5. Nice to see a glimpse of Psycho Rick covered in random red shirt's blood and making those all-important first impressions. Loved all the Abe one-liners tonight. It was his show. And Maggie's badass negotiating skills with the thoroughly unpleasant Gregory indicating a future leader, maybe. Paul McEachern, 4.5 out of 5 Hilltops. I really like the different aspects of this episode. It shows that The Walking Dead can get into intricate and delicate storylines without slaughter. Maggie has a talent for negotiating. Hopefully she can continue where Deanna left off and give her character some actual meaning. Going back to what we said. And if you'd like to join our group, we'd love to have you. As we mentioned, we got 5 new members this week. You can see the links there to theyoungfolks.com, where Aaron, the most erudite reviewer on the show and podcasting,
Thanks.
That's right ups of every episode, including the one that we're talking about now.
I should note. Thank you, Jim, for plugging the reviews as always. I really appreciate that.
Sure.
The Young Folks, the site that I specifically write Walking Dead reviews for, there's a new, like I say, I've been a little bit late on. I haven't been late. To be fair, I've been writing them on time. There's a new editing process involving to make sure that they look as good as possible. Another set of eyes looks at each post that goes on that site now before they get posted. So because I watched The Walking Dead fairly late and read the reviews fairly late, they don't seem to be going up until the morning, if not a little later. So for anyone that's been really looking forward to the writings and like wondering why aren't they there right at like midnight or whenever I usually
instantaneously.
Yeah, it's because it's out of my control right now. So if that changes,
It's all those Hollywood nights,
yeah.
champagne wishes and caviar dreams that Aaron is living out.
Yeah, that's totally back. But yeah, they're I'm doing the reviews. They're coming up as soon as as soon as they get posted. They're up there, I guess.
Plus, that gives Aaron a little more room to spread out and talk a little bit more in depth about how he feels about the show and the show in general.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So definitely check that out. It's all available on the Facebook group. Plus some fun memes and some interesting discussions and a lot of really fun, cool people. I think we kicked all the trolls under the bridge. So the Walking Dead TV podcast on the Facebook.
Well, thank you, Jim, as always. So we've been talking about, just a little piece of news here, we've been talking about this great new video game featuring Michonne as a major character. I know, Aaron, you had a chance to play it. Jim, can you share the gameplay with us and give us kind of a review, a quick one?
Well, it's the same kind of gameplay as the other Telltale games, but I will say that there's more action in this one in the first hour or so than there have been in several of the past few Telltale Walking Dead games that I've seen. But it's more of an adventure game. It's more of a storytelling game than, Twitch-based, shooter or what have you. Basically, and the art style is the same. It's great, like that mix of graphic novel and realism that they went for in the other episodes. And of course, it's Michonne. So
yeah,
it was an automatic buy for me.
Yeah, I've talked often about it in the past when the initial Walking Dead games from Telltale were coming out. That it's between the comic TV series and other things. The game version is my current favorite way to digest the series, just because I really like what they're doing with their storytelling, and it's also interactive, so that adds something on top of it. And it's kind of gives you choices of how to proceed, which actually affect where the game goes as far as what characters survive or whatnot. So it becomes very intense because not every kind of situation you're presented with has an easy answer of which way to go about handling it. So with this one, like Jim said, there's a lot of action in it, which I think comes from the fact that the Michonne game's only like a 3-episode miniseries. So it doesn't, it's as opposed to kind of stretching things out, it only has so much time to tell a story. And with that said, for those that read the comic, I'm not going to spoil what the story is, but it takes place during a very specific time involving Michonne that I appreciate. I like what approach they've given to having a spin-off game involving just Michonne. So.
And I thought it was cool how well it fit into the comic continuity.
For sure, yeah.
Even though it's its own thing, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, these Telltale games I really like them because some people might get the idea that if there's a Walking Dead video game, it would be something like Left 4 Dead or something like a first-person shooter or whatever. But these Telltale games really emphasize the storytelling, and like Aaron said, your actions in the game, what you say to people, how you react to people, really carry over and have consequences down the road.
Which preserves the spirit of the series. Where the Walking Dead graphic novel, it's not an action book. Like there's action in it just because there's zombies, you gotta kill them. But it is a series, which much like the TV series, ostensibly is about characters. And so this game is wisely gone away from, like you said, Jim, going like the Left 4 Dead route, which has already been done anyway, so why do it again? And focused on what people like about this series to begin with, which is characters facing an intriguing or an interesting and harrowing journey trying to survive in this world.
But so far, I think I'm finding it just as on a quality level, just as high as the first one.
Oh, for sure.
The poor Clementine.
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah.
But anyhow, yeah, definitely check it out if you're a fan of the show and you have video games. I got it on Steam. I assume it's available on PS4.
Yeah, I'm playing on PS4. Yeah, it's available on all consoles and on computer, obviously.
How's the voice actor that plays Michonne?
I like it. It's different from. It's not Nightmare. No, she didn't like it. The Telltale game series is very much sticking with like the comic as opposed to the TV series as far as like, the presentation of the games goes. When they look a lot more truer to their comic book representation, which is it's cool. I like that. And no, it's well done. They do a good job with these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So we do obviously a lot more podcasts than just this one. So Jim, do you want to share with the listeners what you've been doing with the rest of your time podcasting and where other listeners can find you?
Well, I'm at Yoda Jones on the Twitters. We do on AJShowLOD.com. You can find the DC TV podcast where we cover all of the shows based on DC Comics properties. That includes Lucifer, Supergirl, The Flash, iZombie, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, and the upcoming Return of Gotham and Preacher as well. So we have a lot on our plate, but we're able to usually cover it all in just under 2 hours in an entertaining and fun way with myself and Daryl Taylor and either the lovely and talented Miss Jerry Atkinson or the lovely and talented, or not as lovely, but certainly talented Jump Toad, Sheldon, talking about DC TV. Also on the TaylorNetworkPodcast.com, I'm regular with Donnie Salvo and Daryl Taylor on our general TV and movie podcast called Nothing's On, where we talk all about all the television and TV and movies that are happening, and we watch all the dumb TV so you don't have to. So check us out there. Occasionally, our good friend Aaron invites me over to his podcast, Out Now, There and Abe, to do a commentary track. We just did one on The Crow, it's about a week or so ago. So you might want to check that out. So you might get to talk there with Brendan Peters and Scott Mendelson. But I'll let Aaron tell you more about that.
Yeah, Out Now, There and Abe is the weekly film podcast that I host with my friend Abe, and yes, we do every month do a commentary track as well. This month we did The Crow, which yes had Jim Dietz on there. A lot of fun doing those commentary tracks every month because the listeners love them. But yeah, in addition to that, we obviously have our weekly show where we cover various film releases. This week it's all Oscar stuff. So we have an Oscar prediction show and an Oscar wrap-up show, which is currently up now. And we're coming up on what's Zootopia and London Has Fallen as far as new releases go. And of course, later in the month we'll be getting to Zootopia's quite good. London Has Fallen I haven't seen yet, but that's a movie that's happening. But later in the month we will get to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which of course many are excited about. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you can find all the episodes of Out There and Abe on our Facebook page, facebook.com/podcast, and you can follow me on Twitter where I post all about that and everything else I do on twitter.com/AaronsPS4.
That's great. And I also host the Auto Chat Show. It's a not comic book related, but it's automobile related podcast. We talk about all new cars, especially lately doing a lot of new car reviews. So it's been a kind of back-to-back new car review segment. We've got many new ones lined up coming ahead. You can find us on Twitter at Auto Chat Show or on Periscope at Auto Chat Show, facebook.com/Auto Chat Show, and on iTunes Auto Chat Show. So just type in Auto Chat Show, you'll find us, download it. Even if you're not a car nut or you don't even care about cars, it's actually a really entertaining. Me and my co-host Teddy, we have a lot of fun. It's a very lighthearted and just not a very boring podcast. We have a lot of laughs and talk about cars and pop culture, and of course do some new car reviews along the way. So check us out there. Okay, folks, so let's bring an end to this week's episode. Next week's episode is called Not Tomorrow Yet, and it's directed by Greg Nicotero. And I have no other spoilery information beyond that. And even if we did have anything from AMC, it wouldn't tell us anything about the episode anyway.
Yeah,
but we did see
it'd be something along the lines of like, Rick and Jesus go on a new journey that leads to some insightful discoveries.
The group encounters several challenges on their quest to help the Hilltop folk.
That's it. You heard it. That's it. So
Right around by now.
Yeah. So thanks for listening as always, folks. Please join our Facebook group. Like we said, that's the best place to get in on the fun, and just apply to join the group. We approve, and we get you right in, and it's a lot of fun. So when there's no room left in hell and the dead walk the earth, remember one thing: that Bisquick is 90 seconds from the package to the oven. Take care, folks.
Check. Walking Dead.
Well,
Like they're Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
He wanted to know you were serious right off the bat.
Thank
Did you
you.
guys catch that when he said that? I was like,
Yep.
he said many again, right off the bat.
Off the, yeah,
Oh, I get it.
that was real on the nose. Yeah, really off the bat.
I
Yeah,
get it, right off the bat.
that's the dude from Terminator. That's why when I saw that guy, I'm like, where's he from? He's in a million other things, but like that's
One dude was in 24.
Yeah,
Okay.
the same guy, Xander Berkeley.
Xander
So
Berkeley.
he's a great character actor, and he's knowing Gregory from the comics. Like this is perfect casting. I remember reading Xander Berkeley was cast. I'm like, who's he gonna play? Because he's not Negan. Because I remember seeing the name pop up. I was like, who's he gonna play? Then he just walked up. And I was like, oh, he's Gregory. That's perfect casting.
he's walking in, just